Hey folks, Brian, trying to do some catch up. We played Elderath on Saturday night. It's now Monday night. Sunday went way too fast as well. I didn't get nearly as much homework done as I needed to. But anyway, shoot, that was a huge session. Lots and lots of information. And if you're into live play, it's in the description because I record our episodes. Okay, so anyway, we get up to the Valley Forge. It's roughly 3 to 500 D tons. That's displacement tons if you're familiar with the traveler term. And the nacelles look like they are way larger than they really should be. It's a frigate-sized Mars colony ship, but it's not colony ship. It's colony something else, which we actually find when we get the placard. Anyway, it's called the Valley Forge, which is different than the Valley Forge that Dylan has been on, connecting with an old NPC who had joined the rebellion, for lack of a better word. But anyway, so we attempt to communicate with the ship, static. And it's not emitting any kind of transponder. That's because it's pretty much powered down. But anyway, we go to set up an umbilical. Well, Wes takes it over, and it doesn't fit. So he sends a little video of what he's looking at back to the ship. So that Hjalmar, who can look at it and say, hey, there should be a panel off to the right there with all kinds of adapter rings in it. Open up. Sure enough, there it is. Wes makes a connection. Runt also notices that the ship's system starts coming online, and messages starts to broadcast in Old English. Now, the GM kept calling it Old English, but those of us from the CSA, some of us, actually speak English, but we don't know if it's Old English and if there should be some kind of conversion or not. We just ran with it. Anyway, so Runt patches the audio into the suits, says, to whoever finds this vessel, this is the MCS Valley Forge. I think it said 200 ton, but I don't think it's exactly correct either. Vessel serial number, and it rattled it off. We experienced a misjump. We are now on the rim. We are on the rim now. Static. Okay, so Wes makes his way along the hull to the breach. He ties off the line there and starts to search the bridge. While he's doing that, he's making a video feed of the console. There's lots of lights and warnings going off. And it's then that Wes notices next to the door is the commissioning plaque. Which, if you're watching the video, we have a picture of it. Next to each seat is a storage compartment, but they're both empty. Because there's two seats here on the bridge, and Raymond uses the line to pull himself over. Okay. So we're in the bridge area. There's a door to what would be our south, down in the video kind of thing. And it indicates that it's not pressurized on the other side. There's a video viewport. It shows an empty hallway with miscellaneous debris that's on the floor. It would have been floating around, but since we started to power up, the gravitational generators in the floor have initiated, so everything down. Now, Runt does see a message. There's mechanical data scrolling screen that says the depressurization is suspended. So that's what he's seeing on the far horizons. After we made the connection, they're kind of talking, things happen, right? So we find a locker. Yay! Sure enough, there's vac suits. Yay! 2 of them. But they're size 11 and 14. We have a size 12 and a size 14 currently. So it does absolutely nothing for us. But while Wes is in there, he notices that back behind these vac suits, there's some graffiti etched into the wall plating behind those suits. Some kind of iconographic kind of thing, like a gang sign graffiti kind of thing, right? And it's the resistance against the pure earthers, and it seems somewhat fresh. Of course, there was some discussion between me and the GM on, okay, what do you mean by how old is it? Well, if it's been there for a while, suits growing back against it, could rub down. People trying to clean it up would rub down the edges, but if it's fresh, it should be fairly, jagged. edging kind of thing. So it seems fresh. Okay. Raymond investigates the computer room. Again, lots of lights and mornings. He asks for a basic sensor sweep. There are sensor feeds. There's a brief flash, unrecognized user, and then static in the displays for the sensors. And then it goes back to normal, and what looks like the trajectory of the ship's previous travel. So he sends that feed to Hjalmar, because Hjalmar's our pilot, he knows this kind of stuff. And it shows the trajectory of the ship that then experienced the misjump. And Raymond, trying to be polite, thanks the ship system for conveying information. We come across a dorsal hatch up to the top, and then some staterooms. No personal effects whatsoever. Everything is empty, like it's awaiting new occupants. We come across the captain's quarters. Computer again, but again, there's a computer there, but again, no personal effects. Raymond finds a teeny plastic toy that's been stuck down into a crevice somewhere between like the bulkhead and the bed or something. And the captain's room, the floor plating has a false floor plating that can peel up right on the backside, has more of these Mars resistance symbols on it. But it's different than the one in the gear closet. There's also Wes using his historiography skill. This kind of graffiti was used by the resistance, not just vandalism, but as a way to communicate between resistance cells. That's what this looks like. And inside this false floor is a safe. Excuse me. It uses a panel and keypad. We don't know how to do any of this kind of stuff. And the computer screen is asking for identification. We go further south. We get to the lounge. The liquor locker is empty. Further south is a galley. Runt notices, because we're panning around with the video, that laid on the counter are some utensils, and it looks like some kind of code because they're like spaced, right? So we get a good picture of it. He inputs that into the Far Horizon computer system to use it to see if they can't help decipher what this may mean. Raymond is also pretty sure there's some kind of a code here. Again, place is clean, no food. Down to the mess hall, has hatches up and down. Underneath one of the chairs is another Mars resistance symbol. We swing around to the med bay. There's a single table with a medical console, no supplies. We find another Mars resistance symbol. And we notice that all this kind of graffiti seems to like it should connect together to some kind of message. Raymond tries to pull up the medical logs, but the computer requests for authentication. We go further south into engineering, and Hjalmar says, "Hey, wait! Go back! Look at that screen. It's on a loop that's scrolling through information. It says, the ship attempted to jump and failed. This caused a catastrophic core collapse. All kinds of damage to the drive. There was an EM spike, hull rupture, crew status unknown. Core data is being purged. On another screen, there's a comms log that's looping. Payload destroyed, subject alpha neutralized, directive 8 scrubbed, reversion protocol active, await PE salvage team." There's also a scrolling list of the personnel, all listed to be dead. There's a reference to the ship being an escort. And West knows there are a number of companies that were bogus fronts for the resistance, funneling people from the Sol system into the CSA. There are also sensor trails. There's a burn trail for the run-up to FTL translation. There was the EM spike initiated in the lower deck by the power plant. Searching the area, you find there are no tools here. Now we go back to the galley and then go down. There's a reception area for the ship's launch. Hjalmar says there's something odd about the damage that's caused by the ECM burst, because we go down to the engineering area down there as well. The deck plating is discolored, like it had been scorched, right? But there's no catastrophic damage as you would expect there to have been if there was an actual EM burst. There's no apparent damage to the power plant. We attempt to get diagnostics, and West tries using his scientific programming. It's going to take some kind of code key or a cipher. But they're still able to access some data streams. And so he does a query, current status of the power plant. And it says the M spike caused destabilization, which ruptured the hull below the power plant. Operating on the power plant is operating on minimal power now. It's supplied by an unidentified ship nearby. And Martin recalls, hey, there was a handshake between the two ships when the connection was initiated, so it's not an unidentified ship. And then we have a little history lesson about how the ship, based on its date, was commissioned 60 years before the Stargate between Sol and the CSA was destroyed, which was some 600 years before our current Far Horizons timeline, as far as we know. Okay, we go down to the cargo bay. There are containers underneath one of the lids. Again, more graffiti, so we record it. Go to the crew lounge. Wes gets the distinct impression there were lots of people here, right? There are food wrappers, children's toys on the walls, of the remains of children's pictures, things that were missed, but suggesting there were people here. Like they tried to clean up, but just didn't do a very good job of it necessarily. Into the crew's quarters, more graffiti, more evidence of children. Again, no personal effects. More crew's quarters. Runt, through the video feed, does notice initials carved into one of the cabinets, but it does not match the crew log that we have. We get in the avionics area, and laid over the computer console and screen is an old Mars flag. The computer console is asking for a code in, which is odd for an avionics section, right? Wes is thinking this is referring to a code phrase from the rebellion against the pure earthers. And Raymond goes, that flatware placement in the gallery probably refers to a cipher. Runt asks if there's anything on the flag. Raymond looks at, sure enough, there are 8 names on it, very faded. I only captured a handful of them: Emmerich, Solon, Cade, Unicius, Lisa, Kira, a few others. But we actually get their full names here later on. So we're looking at the graffiti for the cipher of the flatware. These strike us more as directional indicators rather than as an actual cipher. But direction for the ship doesn't really, apply. And there is a pattern to the spacing of that flatware. And there's the initials from the flag. And from all that, we're able to actually decipher a code. And that code gets us into the avionics software. So there's the sensor logs from the ship's entry. There is a ton of telemetry data being dumped. There's the trajectory from which the ship enters the system to its present low position above Elderath. And then a message comes out to whoever finds this vessel. This is the MCS Valley Forge, Escort Class 400 D10 Registry 4072 Delta Sigma. We were the last ship out. Our orders were to shield the Goblin, a scout-class vessel carrying critical cargo, through the Forerunner Gate, the Freedom Jump. We held the line against the Pure Earth regime long enough for them to break through. We took fire. The gate was collapsing even as we crossed the event horizon. We never emerged where or when we were meant to. Navigation solutions failed. No known stars, no friendly signals, only the void and flicker of a habitable world below. The ship survived. We did too. But life support won't last forever, and we are too far out for any hope of recovery. Our mission is complete. The Goblin made it through. That has to be enough. We're descending now, leaving Valley Forge in low orbit. She's sealed, beacon active, logs intact. Use her if you find her. Look for smoke, for cairns in the shape of a star. That's our sign. We will not wait idly to die. We will build, we will live. If we are the first to tame this world, so be it. We are forged for harder battles. We were forged for harder battles. Our names are Lieutenant Commander Emmerich, Tathis Command, Commander Rana Okio? Okio? Yeah. Exo Tactical Officer. Chief Engineer Solon Velez, Pilot Lieutenant Cade Marin, Astrogator Eunicius Kovari, Medical Officer Dr. Lynn Mayan, Gunner Lissa Quinn, Sensor Officer Lieutenant Kara Daniloff. We are not lost. We are the future, scattered like seeds across the stars. If you find us, remember this. Valley Forge did not run. She stood, and the flame still burns. The crew of the Valley Forge. Okay, so we go back, and Raymond's searching the nacelles. Wes is working with the computer to try to get accurate diagnostics on the ship's systems statuses. It's been powered down mode. The system's power is low, but the drives there are but the drives are there. There's some of the components in the drives that have failed. The crew manifest comes up, but that's not the same one as on the flag. And Hjalmar sets up a remote terminal on the far horizons. So he's able to access the Valley Forge's network. The hyperdrive engines are damaged. The cause is unclear. Notes from the ship's engineer, something to do with their transit through the gate. The power plant has damage and is at a low level power. The maneuver drive is twin fusion drive type 6. But again, the outside of the nacelles is larger than what's on the inside. In fact, it's twice as big as they ought to be. And Hjalmar mentions, hey, the drives extend forward of the nacelle farther than the drive units go. So searching, we're looking for a hidden panel of some kind, and eventually find one that opens up to a detachable compartment, where we find again more kids' drawings. Lots of crates tied down, hooks, and other securing devices. And after finding one, we go back and find the other one. And there's a door in the lower section. There's sanitation facilities in here, right? And the other nacelle finds more graffiti glyphs. Well, it looks like a crate that has been broken open, and there's debris on the ground. It's seeds. Seeds for a baobab tree. Raymond searched the last turret, and he finds the 8th glyph. We're assuming there are 8 total, since there are 8 crew. Hjalmar, in looking over the glyphs and recalling something Wes said about the Mars resistance, reasoned that they are direction markers. And Raymond asks for the telemetry of the ship. Where did the launch go? Because the launch is missing. And it went west of the southern colonies. Many, many leagues west of Telgar. There's an island chain. And the telemetry ends with a well-developed image of where they landed. There's a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 islands. So we power up the Valley Forge's sensors, and we find a log file. There's a message from the chief engineer. If you're hearing this, the ship is still up there. We did it. The Goblin made it through. Where we ended up is not on any star charts. It's a Taurus. We think it's Forerunner tech. It's inhabited. We're heading down, isolated. We left markers. If you are resistance, follow the markers. Hjalmar's working with Raymond to attempts to survey scan of the toroid itself, looking for electromagnetic signatures. And Raymond starts to ask about scanning for ley lines. And in doing so, a text message pops up. And Hjalmar's going to focus, trying to find the ley line thing at the ferry circle inside the moat house. That's his starting point, right? And he finds a disturbance there, branching out. It's a line moving northernly. The text message says, Nature, ancient artificial structure, Taurus megastructure. Orbit 1 AU from its sun, gravity and atmosphere Earth normal, age approximately 300,000 years. Inner surface, mostly water. Outer surface, oceans, forests, mountains, scattered civilizations. Forerunner influence, no known structures on the islands. Deep history tied to interdimensional warfare. Magic source, ambient energy leakage from the Taurus core. Scanning for the turning lands. Oh, something that else that we were looking for. Scanning for the turning lands. We were unsuccessful. Scanning for the rift, where Forg has his castle, produced another log. Recovered briefing. Elderath Anomalous Planetary Survey. MCS Valley Forge, Science Division, Clearance Level Omega. 1. Overview. The planetary body designated Elderath, is not a conventional planet. It is an artificial toroid megastructure constructed by an unknown pre-human civilization of immense technological sophistication. All that indicates the world is fully engineered habitat. 2. Structural anomalies. No planetary core. Gravitational fields artificially maintained by internal mass regulators. Hollow shell. The interior is dominated by a global ocean. Outer surface supports diverse biomes and human habitable conditions. Stabilized poles. Electrogravitic control nodes regulate atmospheric and magnetic systems. 3. Energy and atmosphere. Atmospheric renewal systems consistent with self-sustaining ecosystems. Ambient energy fields appear to derive from a dimensional bleed-through, likely tied to ancient technology or rifts in time-space. Magical phenomena correlate to fluctuations in this energy, creating zones of increased psychic and elemental activity. The rift by Forg's castle is deep. On the east side is a very large tube. It is broken off at the end. So there's a tubular structure. Same type of diffused energy running through the castle runs on the centerish northern side. Then we take a look at the ocean vortexes. So there's a whirlpool, goes all the way to the core, and the spout that does the opposite. And that's as far as we got, because at that point I was dead on my feet and I had to close out. Happy gaming.